just be a part of the community, that's fine. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Folks are rolling in. Welcome. We're also hello to everybody. I'm doing this on YouTube Live, so if people want to be anonymous, they can be anonymous. Hi, Kedian. Nice to see you. Hi, Sarah. Thanks for joining us. Super exciting. I'm really glad to be here with you guys today. I'm going to start right away, and then I'll ask you some questions in a second. But the first thing I'm going to recommend before you get super comfortable is that you just have a couple things with you. And so what you're going to want is you're going to want a yoga strap if you have one. If you don't have a yoga strap, just a hand towel does just fine, like a bathroom hand towel. Another great thing to have is a blanket, but if you don't have a blanket, you could also just use a bath towel. And then lastly, it's really nice to have a block or a couple blocks. If you have difficulty getting up and down off of the floor, then you probably want to have a chair. Another thing in place of a block is I like to use a big book. So I have here Paul Robeson biography, nice and heavy. Haven't read it yet, still intend to. But if you want to go ahead and grab those things now, and then whatever else you need to make yourself comfortable. So if you want to put some music on, you could put some music on. And if you want to have a glass of water, I'm going to grab a glass of water and then we'll get started. So for those of you who are joining us via Zoom, do you want to share anything about what you're requesting for today or anything that you'd like to work on? Or if you have any injuries and you want to let me know, now is a great time. All right, then we'll go ahead and get started. So you're going to start in a comfortable position, and I stress the word comfortable. So I almost always start classes lying down on the back. And the reason for that is I find that most of us don't have the support that we need to sit upright comfortably right at the start of class. So in almost every class I teach, I'm usually starting on the back. So go ahead and get comfortable. If you're lying down on the back, it's always nice to have a blanket or a little bit padding underneath your head. That's just an Alexander technique thing so that your head is really released and it's not being pulled back towards the floor. I'm going to sit up for this portion just because I'm going to be monitoring if folks are entering. So again, you can be lying down on your back or you can be sitting upright just in a comfortable position. And I just want to first thank everybody for joining us today and for coming to show up for yourself. And then just become aware of your breath. And I just invite you to just tap into, what does your breath feel like? Does it feel really short and uncomfortable? And then with that, you might also just get in touch with, what is the state of your mind? So just like the body, we wake up sometimes and we feel a little sore. Sometimes we wake up and we feel a little frazzled. Or the mind has a quality or a texture. And then we're going to do a little breath practice today just to steady in the breath. So we're going to take a pause between the inhales and the exhales, and then we're going to take a slightly longer exhale. And I'm going to walk you through that, but I'm going to invite you to take two different approaches. If you're feeling like your mind is really chatty and just really active, then I invite you to stay with counting. And we'll do 4 for inhale, 2 to hold in between, 6 to exhale, and 2 to pause in between. Or if you're feeling like you can just really focus on the breath with a sense of spaciousness without needing the rigidity of counting, then I just invite you to think about inhaling, pausing, and then exhaling for longer. I'm going to do the counting version just to start. So let's just take a soft inhale together and an exhale. And then we're going to inhale for 4 counts. 2, 3, 4, and pause for 2. And exhaling. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and pause. Inhaling. 2, 3, 4, pause. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pause. Inhale. 2, 4, pause. Exhaling. 2, 5, 6, pause. And you continue that on your own. And pausing and exhaling. And pausing. And as you continue that, if you need to slow it down or speed it up a little bit, feel free. In the bottom of your next exhale, you can go ahead and let that go. Just allowing yourself to come back to a natural, easy breath. So during really uncertain times, the breath can get really irregular and things can get a little stressful. So at any point, if you want to come back to this counting breath practice today, you can. So for those of you who are seated, you can go ahead and open your eyes. We're going to all meet by lying on the back. So if you're not already there, you can transition yourself now to lying on the back. I'm going to bend my knees here, bringing the bottoms of my feet onto the floor. I'm going to bring my hands onto my belly, and then I'm just going to take a couple deep belly breaths. So I'm going to inhale, and I'm going to feel the belly lift. And then exhale, I'm going to feel my navel drop back towards the spine. And then I'm going to inhale and feel my belly lift up. And then exhale, I'm going to let my navel drop back towards the spine. And then just one more time like that. Inhale, feel the belly lift up. And exhale, the navel can drop back towards the spine. I'm going to inhale, I'm going to let the belly button lift up. And then this time I'm going to exhale, I'm going to actively draw the navel back towards the spine. So just a little bit of core support. And then I'm going to pause there and I'm going to hold it and I'm going to inhale and I'm try to breathe into my chest. So I'm just trying to find a little lift, almost like a little zipper underneath the belly button. There's this little sense that the core is there supporting me. The pelvic floor works to support me. And then we're going to stay with that and we're just going to draw the knees in towards the chest. You can catch hold of the knees with your hands. And then maybe rocking your knees from side to side. And now you can let the belly go. Just let it be soft and easy. Stay nice and easy in your hip creases. And while we're here, I forgot to ask if we have any special requests for anybody joining us via Zoom. So if you want to chime in now, you can unmute yourself. If you have any special requests, any things you want to work with, we're going to start to take the knees in circles. Feel free to jump in and give us an idea of what you'd like. All right. If you get the urge during this session, you can go ahead and let me know. We're going to draw the right knee into the chest and release the left leg long along the floor. I like to place my left hand on the front of my left thigh, just encouraging that left thigh to really release and soften. And then I'm going to take my right knee from side to side, just warming further through the hip socket and just giving myself just a little bit of rotation in that hip. And then following with this idea of rotation, I'm going to rebend my left leg and reach my right foot up towards the sky and then rotate the ankle. I'm just getting some movement in there. And I like to support the back of my leg so that my psoas muscle isn't gripping. And then we're gonna draw both knees back in towards the chest. I'm gonna lift both feet up towards the sky and my knees are gently bent here. And then I'm just gonna give myself a little core activation. So I'm gonna drop my navel back towards my spine. And then if it's comfortable, you might put your hands on the back of the head, or you can just lift your head up. And then I'm just gonna reach my fingers up towards the sky. And it's like I'm just sort of like dangling a little bit from my fingers. I feel my core work a little bit just to activate it. And then when you're ready, you can lower that down. I'm gonna draw my left knee into the chest and release my right leg long along the floor. Again, I like to place my right hand on the front of my right hip to remind it to soften. And then I'm just going to move into some articulation of my left hip joint here. Just moving through. All right. And then I'm gonna bend my right leg, reach my left foot up towards the sky. And then again, just a soft articulation through the ankle, making some circles. And you can go in the opposite direction as well. And then once more, a little core activation. I'm gonna draw my knees in and then let my feet come up. And then you might support the back of your neck, or if it's comfortable, you can just lift your head right up. I'm tucking my chin into my chest to keep the sides of my neck soft. And then I'm gonna try to lift the back of my pelvis and the back of my shoulder blades up off the floor. So really getting the sense that the core works to support me there. And then I'm gonna let myself soften. I'm gonna let my knees bend, bottoms of the feet on the floor. Okay, I'm gonna let my left knee draw into my chest again. And then this time I'm gonna take the left knee, I'm gonna open it out to the side. And I'm gonna open out to the side so I'm not letting the thigh fall away from me. So even if you wanna hold it, that's fine. So you're letting that knee open out to the side. And then I'm going to take my whole foot and shin and I'm gonna draw a circle in the air. And I'm drawing in towards my midline and then away. So I'm just getting into my adductors here. Yeah, so just finding a little bit of the inner thigh working. So I'm circling the foot in towards the center of the body and then away. And again, keeping that thigh nice and close so that I'm not squeezing through the front of the hip flexors. And then I'm going to go ahead and just trade right to the other side. So I'm going to start by drawing the knee into the chest, keeping that thigh right nice and close as I open it out to the sides. Again, I'm not straightening my leg out. I'm letting it soften in. You can even hold the back of your thigh. And then I'm just circling my foot and my shin in the air. And just trying to get in touch with my inner thighs here. So I'm letting the foot circle in towards the midline and then away. Okay, a couple more like that. All right, and then I'm gonna go ahead and again, grab my knees. This time I'm gonna open my knees nice and wide so those muscles that I was just using get a little openness, a little stretch. And then I'm going to touch my toes together and I'm going to lift my feet halfway up towards the sky. So I'm not all the way straight. I'm not all the way bent. I'm sort of in between. And I already feel my inner thighs like really kind of powering up here. Now you can stay here, or if you want, you can add a little tummy to this. So you can tuck the chin in towards the chest, maybe lift the head up. Again, you might support on the back. You might lift your arms up. You might hold your legs a little bit. Oof. All right. You can guess what pose we're going to work towards today, right? So a little upside down crow we're in right now. When you're ready, you can lower yourself down. We're going to reach the arms up and overhead. You can reach the legs nice and long. I'm just going to take a big stretch here through my body, a nice yawn. And then I'm going to roll myself over onto the belly. Okay, so on the belly. I'm going to bring my hands just forward of me, and I'm going to start to press my chest up a little bit. So I'm just getting a little stretch through the stomach. You don't want to be feeling this in your lower back, so you can come down a little if you're feeling your lower back, or think about your pubic bone moving down towards the floor. So I'm moving my pelvis down so that I get a little opening through my chest. And then I'm going to bring myself down. I'm going to come to a 90-degree angle with this right arm. And I'm going to, so it's straight out from my shoulder, and then my fingers are right in line with my elbow. I'm going to bend my knees here, and then I'm going to roll over onto my side. So I'm going to face towards the left. My right arm is out. Yeah. So when you roll on the side, you'll get a nice stretch and an opening on the front of the shoulder is what we're looking for here. So in the pec minor. And I like to pad underneath my head here using my fist underneath my head. If you guys have any questions, feel free to unmute and just jump on in. Taking a couple of breaths here, just feeling that opening across the front of the chest. And then when you're ready, you can roll back onto your belly and we'll take the other side. So again, I'm opening my elbow up. I'm going to show this. It's like this, right? It's just a 90-degree angle. So opening the elbow up on the floor, rolling over on your side. I find that I have to kind of just take my breast tissue, get it out of the way a little bit. All right. And then finding what's comfortable for you. So you want to pad under your head. Different things you can do with the legs here. So you can straighten the legs if you want to and keep them active. I like to keep my knees bent with my feet back behind me. And sometimes I like to just hover the top leg off of the bottom leg. And that for me is that so I'm just not crunching down on my sacrum. It just offers me a little more support for my finicky and lovely lower back. Okay, a couple more breaths here. And last one. All right, we're gonna roll back onto the stomach. I'm gonna lengthen my legs here. I'm gonna walk my hands in line with my shoulders, take a little gecko pose. So I'm tenting my fingertips here. I'm gonna let the tops of my feet press down. And again, thinking about my pubic bone is pressing down towards the floor. So there's an energy of grounding through my pelvis to protect my lower back. And then I'm gonna inhale. I'm gonna lift my heart and my chest up. Mom, I know that you said this is a personal favorite, so this is for you today. When you're ready, you can lower yourself down. And then again, inhaling and lifting up through the chest. And exhale. And one more time. And exhale. I'm going to slide my hands underneath my shoulders. I'm going to bring my forehead down onto the floor here. So I'm thinking about a string between my forehead and my pubic bone. So as if I had a string right on the front of my body, I'm going to try to keep that string taut. I'm going to push myself back to my hands and knees. So thinking about lifting through my core, finding some strength to push myself back. Wonderful. So nice. Great. So here we are in hands and knees. We're going to do a little bit of work here. So if you know that you have sensitive knees, you can go ahead and pad them now. And if you don't have sensitive knees and you want to pad them because you want to take good, loving care of them, you can do that too. All right, I'm going to reach my right leg back behind me. I'm going to float the foot up off the floor just a couple inches. So I'm not coming up so high that I'm going to bow my back. I'm trying to keep my foot in line with my hips and lift up a little bit my front body towards my back body. So I get a sense that my core is supporting me. And then from here, I'm going to bend my back leg so that the bottom of the foot faces up towards the sky. I'm going to drop that knee down an inch. And then I'm going to give my glute a little squeeze to lift that foot back up. So just a little activity on the back of the leg. And we're going to do that just a couple times. Just kind of finding some stability in the back of the body there. Fabulous. I'm going to then draw my knee into the chest and I'm going to step my right foot out towards the right. And I'm stepping it in line with my hands. So not all the way back by the hip, but you want to get it pretty far forward. Now, some of you may already feel this, like on the inner thigh of your leg. So you could stay here. We're going to bend the elbows so the heart comes forward. If you don't feel this so much, you could also lower yourself down onto your elbows. So you pick what you got here in your inner thighs. I'm going to use blocks under my elbows here. Okay, and then we're going to do a little rock forward. So we're going to inhale, we're going to open the chest and rock forward. And then exhale, pull the hips back. Then inhale, rocking forward. And exhale back. And again. And we'll take 2 more. All right, when you're ready, if you have your elbows down, you can place your hands back under your shoulders, and we're going to come just back to hands and knees. We're going to move directly to the other side. I'm going to reach my left leg back behind me, hover my foot up off the floor a couple inches. Again, not sagging through the low back, so thinking about the front body moving up towards my back body. I'm going to bend that back knee, drop my knee down just an inch, and then just about 3 or 4 glute squeezes here. So I'm thinking about using my tush to lift my foot up an inch. And then I'm going to draw the knee in towards the chest and step that foot out towards the left side. Again, it's in line with my shoulder, so not in line with the hip. And then either bending your elbows, or if you came down on your elbows on the other side. We'll do about 5 breaths there. So we're going to inhale and pull the heart forward. And exhale, pull the hips back. And inhale to pull the heart forward. And exhale, hips pull back. And 3 more. All right, when you're ready, you can place your hands back under your shoulders. If you lower down onto your elbows, come back to your hands and your knees. And then one more thing that we'll do here, these are all preparations for a down dog, but I'm going to walk my hands forward a little bit, and I'm just going to find an arch in my spine, or some people call that cow, right? And then I'm going to find a cat and round. If you want to keep with those rounds, you can do that. I'm going to find a place right in between cat cow so that I know that I'm in a neutral spine. My shoulders are softly away from my ears. And then I'm going to go ahead and lift my knees an inch off the floor here. So I'm just adding a little fire, a little weight bearing to the hands. I'm spreading wide through my fingers and pressing my fingers and knuckles down. Just getting a little weight bearing, a little work in the shoulders, and then I'm going to lower my knees down to the floor, and I'm going to come back to child's pose, sitting back towards my heels, maybe resting my forehead down. If child's pose is not comfortable for you, you could try putting some padding underneath yourself, so something underneath your seat. You can also stay up on your elbows if you like. We'll take a couple of breaths here. All right, when you're ready, we'll come back up. We're going to move towards a downward facing dog. If downward dog is not in your practice, you could stay at hands and knees with your cat cow. I'm going to float my knees up off the floor, and I'm going to move my padding to the side for now. Once you arrive in your downward facing dog, you can keep your feet treading or whatever feels right to you to get into the pose. Okay, you can be in downward facing dog. You could also be at hands and knees, and that's fine as well. I'm going to inhale. I'm going to lift my right leg up towards the sky. So I'm in a down dog split. And if you're working on hands and knees, you're lifting your leg back just behind you like you did before. And then I'm going to draw the knee into the chest, and I'm going to come forward, drawing the knee into the chest. And I'm going to lower my shin right down between my hands. So I'm not in pigeon pose. I'm going to keep my heel directly in line with my tush here. And then from here, we're going to take that same gecko spine. So I'm going to lift my back knee up off the floor. And then I'm going to inhale and lift my heart and my chest. And exhale, tap my forehead down. And then again, I'm going to inhale and lift up. And exhale, tap down. Now you be the guide for your own lower back. So if it's too much for your lower back to lift up high, you don't need to by any means. You can also stay on the rhythm of your own breath. So linking the movement with the breath is a great way to keep the mind steady. So even if you're just doing anything that helps to link your breath and your movement together. All right, I'm going to come about halfway up on my next one. I'm going to place my hands back underneath my shoulders. I'm going to push into my hands and lift my belly up, and then I'm going to see if I can float my shin up off the floor. So I'm going to come back the same way I came in and then step back, downward facing dog. Nice work, everyone. All right. You can stay here in downward facing dog. If you already have a practice of plank to chaturanga and you want to upward facing dog, all that, and you want to move yourself through that, you can. I'm not going to teach that at all today, but I will on another day maybe. All right, I'm going to lift my left leg up towards the sky. Again, you could be at hands and knees, and that's fine. A couple of breaths here, just feeling that fire, wake up. And then I'm going to draw my knee in towards the chest, rounding my spine up like a cat. And then I'm going to place the shin directly down between my hands. I'm sitting on my heel. I'm going to keep my back knee up off the floor, walk my hands a little wide, tint my fingertips. And then I'm going to inhale and lift the heart. And exhale, let my forehead come down. And again, I'm going to lift up and inhale. And exhale down. And moving through on the rhythm of your own breath. All right, I'm going to bring myself halfway up, place my hands under my shoulders, come out of it the same way I came in. So I'm going to push into my hands, lift my belly, lift my knee, float it up off the floor, and then press back, downward facing dog. And a couple of breaths here. Feeling the shoulders gently float away from the ears. Feeling the hips and the sits bones float upwards towards the sky. And feeling the heels gently float down. And then I'm going to just start to walk my feet forward towards my hands, or however you want to come to stand. So if you're at hands and you use a chair to help yourself up, that's one way to do it. I'm going to walk my feet towards my hands and come to hang over my legs, keeping my knees nice and bent. And we're going to take the next couple of breaths to meet in standing. And so I want you to go ahead and just take the transition that feels good to you. If you want to roll up through your spine, you can. Again, if you use a chair or support, you can. Just taking a couple of breaths to make that transition. All right, we're about halfway through. So I know some folks could only stay for half an hour. So if anyone needs to say goodbye, we wish you well. Thanks for joining us. So we're going to do a series of standing poses. And for this, I do think it's going to be helpful to have a block or a book to stand on. So you can go ahead and grab that. Thanks, Sarah. Nice to see you. Be well. Okay. So you can stay facing the front of your mat. I'm going to face forward just so that I'm facing the camera, so it's a little easier to see. So you can still be standing right at the front of your mat. I'm going to place the block between my feet here. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stand up on my left foot, and so that I'm standing on the block. And I'm just going to think about my midline here. So I'm just connecting with the sense, almost like I have a zipper going up the spine. I'm going to bring my hands on my hips. And then I'm going to lower my right foot down a little bit, and that swings my hip out to the side. And then I'm going to lift it back up by thinking of my hip as swinging in underneath me again. So again, it's like I lower the right foot down, my left hip swings out to the side, and then I'm going to sweep my left hip back in, and that's going to lift my foot back up. You can almost imagine like you have like a little line at your midline, or sorry, at your waist, and you're kind of tipping that up and down. Just a couple more. You might already feel a little fire in here. I already feel it for sure. Oof. Okay. Great. So then when you're ready, you're going to go ahead and come down off of that. You can stand on your right foot. We're going to come into tree pose, standing on the right this time with the left foot open. So for tree pose, you could use the block supporting you underneath your foot. You can bring it to the inside below your knee or the inside of your leg above your knee. And I'm going to think about pressing my foot into my leg and my leg in towards my foot. So it's like I have a little midline of my body here. Welcome to the balance, part of today's focus. So what I want you to connect with here is I want you to actually connect with the movement that you feel. So every little element of balance that we have always has a little bit of uncertainty, right? It always has a little bit of sway. And that little action in your ankles that your ankles are doing right now is incredibly healthy for your balance. It's your proprioceptors, just figuring out where it is that you need to be. All right, you can stay where you're at. If at the front of your mat, I'm going to switch just so this can be seen. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take that left knee forward. We're going to come all the way back to low lunge pose. So you figure out how you want to get there, what support you need. I'm going to go nice and slow. I'm going to reach that leg back behind me. I can feel my right leg supporting me, and then I'm going to bring myself down to low lunge. I like to use blocks under my hands here. You could also use a chair if you need a more lift in your chest. In my low lunge pose, I'm going to inhale, I'm going to lift my heart and just feel my heart nice and open. And then I'm going to exhale, I'm going to move the front leg towards straight and release the back of the neck. It doesn't have to get all the way to straight. And then again, I'm going to inhale, bend, I'm going to low lunge, my heart is open. And exhale and just surrender a little bit as I move that front leg towards straight. And we're going to do that 3 more times. All right, on this last one, I'm going to move my front leg towards straight. I'm going to step my back foot in a couple of inches so that I can spin the heel down, and now I'm going to stay. If your front leg doesn't get all the way to straight, that's okay. And then just notice in what way are you treating the stretch, right? Can you open through the back of the hamstring with a sense of just opening the space as opposed to forcing the space? So that's the kind of energy that we want to work with in the body. All right, when you're ready, we're going to transition back to a low lunge pose. I'm going to transition back to downward facing dog. You can get there however feels good to you. I'm going to take a little extra stomach strengthener along the way. So I'm going to push into my hands. I'm going to come back into that little lift of my shin bone, hovering up, and then stepping back downward facing dog. You could rest in child's pose. You could find cat-cow, hands and knees. And then we're going to come to lie on the belly for just a moment. So if you're in downward facing dog and it feels good, you could inhale and draw yourself forward to plank. And then exhale, lower your knees down to the floor, and then lower all the way down onto the belly. I'm going to untuck my toes, widen my hands, tent my fingertips. I'm going to inhale and lift my heart. Exhale, tap my forehead down. And then 2 more, moving on the breath. And exhale. And 1 more. I'm going to place my hands under my shoulders and press back, downward facing dog. And then I'm going to lift my left leg up towards the sky, down dog split. And then I'm going to draw my left knee into the chest. I'm going to work towards stepping the foot forward between the hands. However you get there is fine. So you want to grab the ankle or use a chair to support you. I'm going to spin the back heel down onto the floor. And I'm in warrior 1 with the left foot forward and the right foot back. So I'm going to bring my chest upright to face the front of my mat. All right, and then once you arrive, I just invite you to give yourself a little gentle side bending from side to side. So really easy. Yeah, I love the movement that's happening. It's great. So I've been feeling today like I really need not static energy, right? There's a lot of just nervous energy in the air. And so I'm just finding a way to sort of move within that. And then I'm going to open out to warrior two. I'm going to do the same thing. So in warrior two, my back toes open more, my arms open. Really important just to keep your knee not collapsing in, but the knee is going to go outwards in line with the toes. And then find some movement that feels good here. So for me, I like to almost go to reverse warrior and then almost go to extended angle. I'm just kind of letting myself dance through the poses. Yeah, beautiful. All right, when you're ready, we're gonna bring the hands down to frame the front foot. We're gonna step back to the front of the mat. So however you get there is fine again. And then we're gonna take about 3 to 5 breaths to transition up to stand. So again, taking your own time, taking what it is that you need. You okay, Mom? Oh, is anyone else having a hard time hearing me? No, you're good, Kitty Ann? Okay. All right. I'll try to talk a little bit louder if I can. All right, we're gonna come to stand on the block. You can stand at the top of your mat. I'm just facing towards the camera. I'm standing up on my right leg. This time I have my left foot up off the ground. And then I'm just gonna find that nice even waistline. And then I'm gonna think about my left toes moving down. I'm gonna drop that foot down. My hip swings out to the side. And then I'm gonna move my hip back underneath me and that lifts me back up. And then again, I'm gonna drop that hip down and then lift it back up. And then just a couple more times. Yeah, so the standing leg you want to try, the foot that's on the block, you want to keep that leg now nice and straight. Sorry, I should have been a little more specific about that. So that's what really kind of gets you into these muscles here. Okay, and then when you're ready, you can come to stand on that left leg. So come off of your block. We'll take a tree pose with the right. And we're going to bring that foot onto the block. It could be on the inside above the knee or the inside below. Excuse me. I'm thinking about my foot moving towards my leg moving towards my foot. I find the midline. And then again, just noticing that gentle balance dance. Just there's a lot of movement there. This always reminds me of how when a plane goes on an autopilot, it actually spends like 95% of its time off course, right? It's moving all the time. So the balance is never static. Balance has a lot of uncertainty, a lot of movement. Okay, when you're ready, you can lower that down. We're going to take an extra pose up here because I forgot something on the other side. So I'm going to have us take a number 4 shape to standing, and you can start with your left foot up and the right foot down. And we're going to take a number 4 shape with the legs, and then I'm bending my supporting leg. Now, a lot of options here with the arms. You could keep the hands on the hips as you hinge forward. You could press the palms together in front of your heart. If it's comfortable for you, you could start to bring your hands down towards the surface to support you. So sometimes when I practice with the chair, I practice with the chair right in front of me at the front of my mat, right? So that you have that there to support. So getting a little opening through the hip. And then when you're ready, drawing yourself back up to stand. And then we'll take the other side. So I'm going to cross my right ankle over in a number 4 shape. I'm going to bend my left knee to support me, hinge myself forward. Hands wherever is comfortable, breathing there into that stretch on the back of your hip. And then we're going to make the transition back again towards low lunge. So in this pose, I usually just let my foot just fall right down and then reach it back behind me I'm supporting my, bending my supporting leg and then coming back to my low lunge pose. And in low lunge, inhaling and lifting the heart. Exhale, move that front leg towards straight. Bend, inhale, open the heart. And exhale, front leg towards straight. 3 more times like that. You can do the rhythm of your own breath. All right, I'm going to move that front leg towards straight, step my back toes in a little bit, spin my heel down, and spend some breaths just stretching and opening through this hamstring. Maybe releasing the back of the neck here, feeling the chin fall into the chest. We're going to transition back to downward facing dog. Any way you get there is fine. I'm going to, again, take that little hover along the way just to build a little core strength on my way. And we'll step back. You can stay in down dog, rest in child's pose. If you like to take a vinyasa, you could take a vinyasa. I'm going to inhale forward to a long plank pose. Exhale, lower down in one piece. I'm going to walk my hands wider than my mat. Inhale and lift up. Exhale, forehead down. I'm going to take an inhale here. And then exhale, I'm going to press back to child's pose. All right, we'll meet in downward facing dog if you're not already there. If you worked on hands and knees, that's fine as well. We're going to inhale and lift the right leg up towards the sky. When you're ready, down dog split. Take your time. So if you're not there yet, that's fine. And then I'm going to step that foot forward between the hands. Any way you wish to get there is fine. And I'm going to come up to warrior one by spinning my back heel down and lifting my chest upwards. And then again, I'm just going to stay in a little movement. So I'm going to reach my left arm a little more and then my right arm. And staying in this little dance of the balance. And then when you're ready, you can open out to a warrior two. So the front knee still bends in line right with the toes. The back toes face out towards the side. And then again, a little movement, whatever feels right here. So I like to take almost a reverse warrior and then almost an extended side angle. All right, next exhale, you can bring your hands down to frame your front foot. And we're going to come to a squat pose. So you can get however it feels good. If you want to sit down on something behind you, you can. I'm going to let my toes turn out, let my heels turn in. I'm going to press my palms together in front of my chest to let myself open here. So I'm going to give a couple options for this next part here. If you feel ready for a little cool down, then you can roll onto your back and find a similar pose that we found before, which is where you're going to come down onto your back. You can lift your feet up towards the sky, open your knees, and then you could just stay there. If you wanted to add a little core support, you can bring yourself up. If you're wanting to go towards an arm balance, I'm also going to invite that today. So a little crow pose. So I'm going to stand up on my block for this one. And standing up on the block just raises the level of the hips. It's a little scarier, so that's okay. I'm gonna bring my hands down onto the floor, sort of perched on my block. I'm gonna lift my hips up towards the sky, and then I'm gonna bend my knees towards my armpits here. Now, a key part of this pose is not letting your hips drop down super far. You gotta keep your hips lifted up, 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 up in the air. And then you can just think about lifting one foot up, and then maybe just the other foot. Think about your navel like it's drawing up towards the sky. Great, wonderful. All right, nice work, everybody. When you're ready, come back to your squat pose. Those of you who are via Zoom, do you want to ask any questions about that? Are you good? Gideon, you can call me later if you want. Okay, awesome. Okay, let's lie down on the back. Actually, I should just say this before we do it. We're going to come towards a pigeon variation. I'm just going to show the number 4 variation, but if you guys already know pigeon pose, then you can come into it. So that's where you're in your hands and knees or down dog. You draw one knee forward. You might pad underneath your hips. If you know you like that nice, deep, full hip opener, you can bring yourself into that now. All right, I'm going to take the non-weight bearing pigeon. So I'm going to take the number 4 shape and then draw the knee into the chest. We're going to be here for a good 10 breaths or so. So to really let the back of the hips open. And you can start to imagine that you could draw your breath down into the place where you feel the stretch. So it might be the back of the hip, it might be sort of up the leg a little bit, moving up the leg, and that's okay. All right, when you're ready, if you're in pigeon, you can come to downward facing dog. If you're on your back, you can just uncross your legs and just do something that helps you feel a little neutral. So that might be downward facing dog. I like to, when I'm on my back, just move my knees from side to side, or sometimes I draw my knees into the chest. So even though we haven't done both sides, what if you could just imagine finding a neutral feeling in your body through your breath, through a little bit of movement. And then when we're ready, you can take the other side. So coming into pigeon or crossing your ankle over, finding the number 4 shape, drawing your opposite thigh in towards the body. Again, we'll spend about 10 or so breaths here. So don't come into your deepest stretch right away and come out of it when you're ready. And then when you're ready, coming into whatever helps your body neutralize. Okay, so we're going to finish up with just somewhat of a simple back bend. So I'm going to give you some options here. If you feel like you want a little more activity in your practice and it's helpful for protecting your back, then you can come into a bridge pose. So that's lying down on your back. You bend your knees and you lift your hips up off the floor. Stay for something like 5 to 8 breaths and then rest for 3 breaths in between. If you do that one, I'm going to let you be on your own. I'm going to walk through a supported fish pose. And so for supported fish, if you have blocks, you can use one block to come underneath your shoulders and one block to come underneath the back of your head. Now, if you're using the blocks, you'll want the bottom tip of your shoulder blade in line with the bottom edge of this block. So I'm going to sort of lower myself down, find the bottom edge of my shoulder blades, get the block underneath there, and then lower my head down. If you're using a book and a blanket or a book and a towel, then for this one, I like to use the book or the solid surface under my shoulders just because I like that really nice kind of rest for my shoulder blades. And then you can take a rolled up towel or blanket for underneath the back of the head. So I'm coming down, I'm putting the bottom tip of my shoulder blades in line with the bottom edge of that book, and then lying down so that my head is supported. And then from here, I'm going to open my arms out into a T shape. You could also have your elbows softly bent. So something that helps give you a little openness across the front of the chest. And just giving yourself some breaths there. Just finding some openness on the front of the chest. If you've been practicing the half wheel version, after about 3 rounds, you can go ahead and take a break, maybe come into an easy twist. If you're on the blocks, you can just go ahead and stay and let yourself rest. And then just tap in with your energy level and with your mind here. So again, just like the body has a certain energy, the mind has a certain energy too. Are you feeling sort of calm and spacious and open? Or are you still feeling maybe a little frazzled or uncertain? And for these last couple minutes together, I'm going to give you the option of resting here, resting on your back, or coming up to sit to practice some alternate nostril breathing. And I'll run through the alternate nostril breathing. It's just to bring a sense of groundedness into the mind. So take what works for you. So if you're practicing alternate nostril breathing, I'm going to take my right hand and I'm just going to unfold my pointer finger and my thumb, and middle finger in. So I'm using my thumb and then the ring finger. And what's going to happen here is I'm going to close off my right nostril with my thumb, and I'm going to breathe through my left nostril, and then I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to close off my left nostril with my ring finger and breathe through my right. And so I'll just show that or I'll just walk us through that together. So we're going to take just a nice inhale through both nostrils. And then when you're ready, you can close off your right nostril and you're going to exhale through your left. And then when you're ready, you can inhale through your left nostril. Close off both nostrils, a gentle pause there. And then move the thumb to exhale through your right. Again, I'm going to inhale through my right. Close off both. And exhale left. Inhaling through the left. Pause and close off both. And then exhaling through the right. Inhaling through the right. Pause and close. And exhaling left. When you're ready, you can let that hand just float down. Just come back to a regular, easy breath through both nostrils. If you're wanting to stay resting, you can stay resting. If you're ready to come join us in seated, go and join us in a seat. So I just invite you for the rest of your day to come back to just a nice awareness of your breath. So chances are what we're dealing with today, the uncertainty that we feel today, is not going to end by the end of the day. So I invite you to think of yourself as in it for the long haul. What are the practices that you need to keep yourself sustainable and to keep going? If you feel comfortable with it, you could press your palms together in front of your heart. And we can inhale together to lift the heart and the chest. And exhale, forward bending and ending the practice. Thanks, everybody. So a couple quick announcements. I've decided this is the start off of teaching every Tuesday and Thursday for me at 12:30. So I'll be teaching this class 55 minutes every time, at least for the rest of the year. Totally donation based, so it's really helpful for me if you can give, but if you can't, please just keep coming back. It's very great to have people here joining and